Hi, I'm Gio. I'm 21 and this is Money Therapy.
Hi, Gio.
Hi.
I'm glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
We're going to jump into it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Melly, for everyone who wants to know. She's been a little frisky today. And
Like
what do you do for a living? What do you do for money? Every month.
Right now,
What are you bringing
it's a little weird. I've been doing a lot of work in film, just like freelance kind of stuff and just hopping set to set to set to set. And it's kind of taken a toll. And sometimes you have like 16-hour days, like grueling work for not much pay, especially when you're starting off. So I've kind of stopped doing that. And I work with my friend's company where we sell jewelry.
Okay.
And that's kind of, it's not like a steady job, but it kind of is at the same time. It's weird. They have to like book markets, like flea markets and stuff, like get a stand. And that's like commission / hourly based.
Okay. So there is a portion of it that's more stable. It's not all commission.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's, I don't know, a little uncertain because they're not always at a market. But a stable job would be nice.
Yeah. So on average, how much would you say you're bringing in every month?
It depends. I mean, these past 2 months have been about $4K each month.
Okay.
And I think
decent.
Yeah, it's all right. And I think I can probably stay in that range if I work hard enough. And I feel like I'm the type where if stuff starts like not looking good, then I'll be like, okay, I think I really need to like find a job.
Yeah.
That's more consistent.
Yeah.
You know.
So where would you say most of the money now is coming from? The jewelry job or more sort of freelance work,
I kind of stopped with the freelance because I was doing behind the scenes stuff. Okay. And now I'll like audition for things because like I like acting and stuff too, and I do that as well. So I haven't really been working like a little bit, but the money from that isn't too great anyways when you're just starting out and you like got to build your portfolio, all that stuff. So
long term, what do you want to be doing?
I want to do filmmaking at the end, you know. But I think it's a long road to get there. I mean, luckily I'm not someone where like my friends and family expect me to be far in life yet. Like I'm only 21. Yeah. So I can try all these things out for right now.
And where's school in all of this? And all these plans? Yeah.
So I applied to transfer to Brooklyn College, and I'm in. Okay. So I'll be starting there. Yeah, next semester. I did 2 years of undergrad, not an associate's. It was a bachelor's at Loyola University in New Orleans. Yeah. But I left that school, wasn't feeling it. Now I'm transferring to Brooklyn College where I'll finish up.
The credits are transferring, so you don't have to...
Most of them.
Okay. So now kind of starting with school, obviously you're not going to have as much time to do the work that you're doing currently. No. So what is your plan in terms of living?
I live pretty frugally, I'm not going to lie. So, I mean,
I've seen the numbers, so we'll run through that a bit, yeah.
I'm thinking that I might have to pick up like a restaurant job or something like that. You'll
probably, from my experience, maybe have max 15, 20 hours a week. That's if you're working really, really hard. You know, we have an intern and she's right behind the camera and she works really hard and she's in school. I'd say you're about 20 hours a week, right? Yeah.
Of free time or of school?
Of 20 hours a week with us.
Work.
Oh.
Working with us on top of school.
And that's, and what, how many like credits?
18.
18?
Yes.
Damn.
So it's possible, but she works very hard. Yeah. So it's definitely a sacrifice. And so for you, between film, making money, and school, you'll likely have to choose maybe like 1.5, 2 if you work really hard.
Yeah.
Well, so you said you live frugally. Let's dig into that. Let's see what that looks like. So you said you make around $4K a month. That's now. So it's all contract work. Are you setting aside anything for taxes?
No.
Okay.
No.
So that is something that obviously is super important because when tax day comes, you know, because you're a 1099, it means that you haven't paid any. Normally, the way it works is if you're a W-2 employee, if you're a regular full-time employee at a company, they take it out. For you, that's obviously not happening. So at the end of the year, you're going to have to pay out. Normally, what's suggested is to set aside around 30% of your income. There's also software you could use that does it automatically for you. and they'll even file taxes for you on, on a quarterly basis. I would suggest looking into some apps. They don't do the filing for you, but they do the put money aside so that when you are ready to file, you know, it's easy. I think they do charge for the filing piece, but you could always just do TurboTax like everyone else.
Yeah.
So that would be my first piece of advice is get on one of those, figure out how much you need to pay. The second piece, and so looking at your expenses, your $1,000, around $1,050 on rent, which is in New York very low. That's great. And then once you start school, will that continue, or you're going to be?
I hope so.
Okay.
I mean, I live 2 stops away from Brooklyn College, where I'll be going to school, so I want to stay at the place I'm at.
Yeah.
I like it. The lease is it's good till I think August.
Okay. And
then I'll try to renew it with the same guys, hopefully. If not, I mean, I'll definitely find someone else, but it's rent stabilized.
Amazing.
So, I mean, it's only going to go up like 3% or something like that, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's great. Don't leave.
Yeah.
The dorms are going to be more expensive than
They don't even have them there.
Oh, really? It's a commuter school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dorm life, not it.
Not it. Groceries, $170. That is also you're not lying when you say you live frugally.
No, I've been eating eggs. That's it. Eggs.
Meanwhile, I'm over here like I need my free range $8 eggs. My husband's buying them like once a week. It's really bad. We need an egg subscription over here. Transportation, $60. Sounds like, you know, because you're going to and from school or you're staying in the same area. You're not, you know. So
yeah, it's not much.
Wonderful. $100 on utilities, to be expected. Utilities aren't cheap these days.
Nope.
It is what it is. Shopping, $170. Also not a lot. I did look. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did look at the last month though, November. It was a little bit higher.
This has been bad. Well, I bought gifts. I'm done for Christmas.
Okay, all right.
I don't have to do any more gifts.
I saw it was around $400, $500 last month, but you know what? I'm gonna cut you some slack on that because the amount that you're saving is ridiculous for someone your age. So you're fine. Restaurants around $60. Yeah, that's fine. Medical and subscriptions also, you know, below 100. So all in, you're spending around $1,700 a month, which leaves you with around $2,100 a month to save. Yeah. Which is crazy. Do you have any debt? I know you went to Loyola. Anything left from that?
We just cleared it. We're good.
We cleared it?
Yeah. My mom had like a college fund or something set aside. I was in debt to them $12,000. Yeah. And the interest started kicking in once I left, and my mom was like, "No, we're gonna get rid of that." Okay. Now.
So they were having you start to pay that.
Yeah, they wanted me. Yeah, because I left. They were like, "All right, here we go."
Yeah.
And your interest starts now.
For Brooklyn College, or you're taking on more debt, right?
I assume so. I'm not sure exactly how it's like gonna work yet. Okay. I just submitted my FAFSA stuff to them today.
Oh, so you don't know yet what they're asking you to pay. Okay.
But hopefully I can I've seen these like companies that have like scholarship databases or whatever. And I saw one that's like 3-day free trial. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that free trial. Yeah. And for 3 days straight, I'm just going to apply to every scholarship I see.
Yeah. So you don't know yet exactly how much you're getting from the school. Do you know what is the sort of paper, like on paper tuition?
Sticker price for out of state, it's like $16,000. And I think I have to pay that for like 2 years because I'm still like technically under my mom or something like that.
And then you could prove that you live in New York and then in-state price.
And then their in-state's pretty good. It's only like $4,000 a semester.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So potentially there might be some debt, but you won't have to pay that until you graduate. So no student loans. You're not spending so much. So what, you're here. What is it you want to figure out with your money? What are your goals? What is that dream? What does your dream financial life look like?
I'd hope for it to just be like, kind of free and like taking care of it itself. Okay. Honestly.
Do you feel free now or do you feel constrained?
I don't even know. I mean, I was feeling really constrained for a bit, and that's when I was hustling. Yeah. And I'm taking stupid jobs where it's like you work a whole day and they're going to give you $100 at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Which in New York City, that's not realistic,
No.
and that's not ideal at all. I'd hope that, like, you know, you see, like, I talked to someone before, and they said, you know, if you have, I don't know, let's say, like, the rich people, right? They have like $1 million in like S&P 500, right? And that's like 10% each year,
Yeah.
and that's $100,000.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'd like one day to accumulate enough money where I can put it in like savings or investments where that 5-10% I'm getting back is a big amount, and that like would keep me stable if I'm not living, you know, lavishly or anything like that.
And by the way, you know, a lot of folks nowadays say to retire, like that's how much you really need is like to have that $1 million in that retirement account. It's kind of crazy to think about the fact that like they're asking us to be millionaires by the time that we are 65. But
Damn.
it ends up being that if you start putting money in now, that it's not so unrealistic. Like it sounds crazy, but it's really not unrealistic if you do the math.
Yeah.
So, are you setting aside any of your money right now? Tell me about your savings situation. How much you have in savings? Anything at all in a retirement account? Anything in an investing account?
No retirement account. No investing account. When I was in high school, I tried investing, and I got into those stupid cryptocurrency coins.
Oh, no.
And I lost like all the money I had in there. So
How much was it?
It was like $2,000, and
it's not insignificant. For
I mean,
young
a
kids.
high schooler, like
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, why not? And I wish I didn't do that.
Number
that was
one rule is don't invest money you can't afford to lose.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it's like gambling at that point.
I have money in crypto, and I lost money in crypto also. But it was money that if I lost it, it doesn't make a dent. It doesn't matter that much to me.
Sure.
So when it comes to sort of your risk appetite, you know, you always have to think about, okay, the money I cannot afford to lose has to be in the least risky things. And then you can tier it where, okay, this amount of money, we do something, it's a little bit more risky. Then this amount of money, it's a little bit riskier. And then, you know, the least amount you put in like crypto or some moonshot that, you know, will probably never work. But the chances are, you know, maybe it will, and then you make a ton of money. But
yeah, that'd be nice.
That's sort of the way I think about it. So, and then savings.
So savings is pretty good. I pretty much put like all my money in savings.
Okay.
So right now I have like about $11,000, a little more in savings in like Capital One, and I get like 4 to 5% or something. I think that's per month or so. I don't know. No, I'm probably speaking on my. But that's not per month. That wouldn't make sense.
It's a 4% APY on the account.
Yeah, I think it's something like 4 or 5. Something
Awesome.
good like that.
Okay, so the way I would think about this is you have a really good emergency fund. Like that's, especially for you, you know, your monthly expenses are $1,700. The general rule of thumb for an emergency fund is between 3 to 6 months of expenses. So you're well over that.
Yeah.
Let me actually see how much you're in right now. Let's say we're a little less conservative. Let's say you spend like $2,000 a month. That's, you know, you have got 5 months essentially of expenses. If whatever happened and you made no money for the next 5 months, you'd be good. Pretty much. That's the way you could think about it.
It's good to hear.
Right? How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels kind of like a weight is just, you know, taking off my back a little. Because it has been tough, you know, like not having a job where I wake up every day and like go and do something. Because I don't know, you know, it's just like, I'm like, okay, I got to find it.
Do you ever feel afraid to touch your savings?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Like, where does that fear come from?
I don't know. I'm just, I feel like it's almost like a...
Like, what's it for, in your mind?
I don't know. It's almost like I'm just hoarding it, honestly. Like, I feel like I have kind of a scarcity mindset. And I'm like, I need this for something.
Right. So, the way I like to think about savings is in 2 parts. So, one is that emergency fund, right? That basic amount that you need, like what you said, for you to feel comfortable that if shit hits the fan, you have money that's gonna keep you sustained. That's the first part. The second part is the savings that will get you to the things that you want. And so you need to define what that is, right? Is that eventually buying a house? Is that saving money for some, you know, awesome film that you want to produce, and like you need some starting capital for that.
Right.
What is that for you? Like, is there something that you have in mind that is going to cost you, you know, a few grand, maybe even 10, 20 grand, that you feel strongly about at this point? You might not have that at this point in your life, and that might be okay.
I think right now, like, realistically, like, what I could say is that what I really care about most is just making, like, my career what I want it to be. So I think it would be, like, a film probably down the line, or something career-oriented. But even then, like, I think sometimes I'm like, oh, I should, like, take some more classes on this, or like, take more classes on that. And I'll see the classes are, like, $350, $400, and I'm like, I don't think so anymore.
But you have some money to invest in yourself. If those are the things right now that you think will get you far, listen, you might do it and say it's a waste of time and waste of money. It's worth trying out if it's in the budget, right? Which right now you have plenty of room in the budget, I think, to play around with. I think for you with an emergency fund, the amount that you have in savings right now is perfectly the right amount. Going forward, all the money that you're saving, that's the money that you could be putting towards those dreams, right? Towards investing in classes for yourself, in, you know, putting money aside for, like I said, a film that you want to produce, whatever costs you need for that. What we found is that when you have a goal that you're saving towards, when you can visualize it and like close your eyes and think about it, it's way more motivating to actually like do the thing, to actually save for it and sort of be intentional about it, versus just here's this like pile of cash that's like sitting here on the side, which also feels good. It's like, ooh, I got my like nice little hoard of money, but what's the point, you know?
Yeah,
and then you're afraid to touch it, and then, you know, something happens, and then you have this anxiety, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I guess it's good to have that emergency fund. I mean, there's things down the line that I like definitely know I want. Like, I think about like maybe when I'm like 40 years old, right? Where it's like, I hope I have like a house by then, boat.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. You know, I mean, you gotta have a car. Like a few things, you know, but I'm trying to be like, honestly, I don't really care about that too much right now, and I hope I can just make a really good career, and hopefully like start a production company and make my own films, maybe produce, like do all that kind of stuff, and see where that takes me. And I mean, there's a lot of money in entertainment too. So,
and if you're able to save up money now to invest in those things versus like buying shit, then eventually you'll be able to buy all the shit you want.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really buy stuff as it is now.
Yeah.
You know, I barely shop. If I'm getting clothes, they're probably coming from like Depop, you know, I'm thrifting them.
Amazing.
Like, I try to keep it easy on the groceries. I pretty much eat the same thing every day, which isn't good. I mean, the money I do spend now is like when I'm out with my girlfriend or something like that. And then that's fine. Cause I'm not going to bars and clubs where I'm spending $20 on a beer or something like that, you know? So I feel like I can spend a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know why I feel like I have to save it all. Like, I feel like there's something coming at all times.
Yeah. So there's two things that I want you to do, and I want you to start thinking about. So one is you don't have any retirement savings, and part of that I imagine is because because you were always a freelancer, you were never introduced to this idea of, usually the first time people are introduced to retirement is when they start their first job and they say, oh, we have a 401k, open up a 401k. What a lot of people don't know is that you can save in a tax advantaged retirement account whether or not you have a W-2 job. There's something called an IRA. There's also self-employed 401ks that have much larger limits in terms of how much you could put in. Now, you're going to be a student, so likely doesn't make that much sense for you to do those large limits. So what an IRA is, it's a self-directed account. So you can open it with pretty much anyone. Robinhood, actually, they have an IRA.
Really?
And what's cool about Robinhood is they have a 1% match. So most IRAs do no match. So it's just the benefit is, and the reason why you would do it is that it's pre-tax dollars that go in there. So rather than paying money to the government and then whatever money you have left over being able to use that for investments, you put that money in an account and then you don't pay taxes on it once, right? So usually the way it works with investments, you pay taxes on your income, and then you also pay taxes on the capital gains. When you invest, you make a profit, and you have to pay taxes on that also.
Mm-hmm.
With an IRA or any retirement account, you only pay taxes on the income. You don't pay taxes on the capital gains, which is awesome.
How does it work? Does it like accumulate interest or something?
So when you put it in, you have to decide what investments to put it in. So there are what's called target funds, which are essentially, let's say I want to retire when I'm 65. There's a target fund for that year that'll invest in a variety of different assets. It'll be a combination of stocks, bonds, based on the risk level. So meaning the younger you are, the riskier that combination of assets will be that they'll invest in. And so that fund will do all the management for you. You could just put your money in the S&P, which is what a lot of people do, and just track the market because, over time, you look at the last 100 years, S&P has performed pretty well. I think it's, 9%? Don't quote me on that.
Per year or something, right?
Yeah,
9-10%.
So you could just do, the S&P, you could do a target fund if you're feeling a little bit more, risky. You could pick specific stocks. I wouldn't recommend doing that with all of your retirement savings or savings in general. S&P, target funds, that kind of thing. So I would start there because the less money you pay to the tax man, the better. That's number one. Number two, because that money you cannot touch until you are, until you're a senior citizen, I would not recommend putting all of your additional savings into a retirement account because you are going to want some liquidity when you're thinking about starting to invest and saving up money for, like you said, potentially building your own production company, producing a film or something like that. The second thing I want you to think about is investments. So have you played around, thought about any sort of investment apps?
Not really.
Okay.
It's like when I did do a little investing, I lost so much money. I mean, it was due to my own stupidity.
Yeah. So firstly, I would not, if you're going to do investing, I would not do 100% of it in crypto. That is the riskiest possible asset besides like investing in private companies, which might be more risky, but the single riskiest, most volatile asset. What I would suggest for you is to take, you should still continue to put money into savings. I would take, I don't know, depending on how you feel, 60-70% of whatever you're saving from now on, start putting that in an investment account, into a brokerage account. And I would start with ETFs.
What's ETF?
So ETFs are exchange traded funds. Essentially, again, they're a basket of assets. So instead of you going and picking individual companies, which is very risky, it's a combination of a bunch of different companies, diversified between different industries. So you basically are tracking the market. It's kind of like investing in the S&P, but a little bit more diverse than that. And there are ETFs for different things. There are industry-specific ETFs you could do if you're feeling like you want to invest in oil. There's an oil ETF. There's a aviation ETF. I think there's even a crypto ETF. Don't do that. There's a tech ETF, and then there's just a general kind of market-based ETF. They're really easy. They exist on most exchanges like Robinhood, like Charles Schwab, all of those. So I would start there. And then once you start feeling a little, and you might lose a little bit of money, but again, that's play money for you at that point. You've got the emergency fund. You've got that where you feel stable and safe. This is money that now you can set aside and play around with so that you don't have to keep working to make money. That's the magic, right? Is making money in your sleep while not having to sit there and work for it.
Right. So as it stands now, you say money I have in savings, keep it there. Like as an emergency fund. And if I don't use it, it's going to accumulate that interest, which is nice. So just don't touch that.
Exactly. And by the way, right now, because interest rates are so high, it's hard at that point to actually beat that rate, even in the market. But long term, and again, all of this is not investment advice. You should do your own research. I am not a registered investment advisor. Sure. This is what I would do if I was in your situation. The reason why I say that it's a good idea for you is because you have a good base already. And what I didn't ask you, and what it sounds like, your risk appetite right now is a little bit lower after what happened.
Yeah, I don't like high risk. You know, if I'm gonna do something like really high risk, I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm at a stable point where that's like a good idea for me. You know.
Tell me about that. Why do you feel like you're not in a stable place to take a little bit of risk?
I don't own anything.
Okay.
I don't have any assets,
Okay.
right? I don't own my apartment. I rent my apartment. I don't have a car. I don't have things to my name that, God forbid, something happens, I could liquid that and put it. I just have a little bit of money in savings, and that's really it. I know I'm young, right? I could always go back home if I needed to, but I don't want to do that. Like, I want to kind of just be independent. I want to, get to work after school, you know, put some money away, and then maybe I'll start trying to own an apartment. Maybe get a mortgage on an apartment or something. Like get a car. Do all the things you're kind of supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to I don't want to gamble away anything I don't need to gamble away yet. I feel like I'd rather be at a point where it's I'm doing good. Let's try this. See if it hits.
Okay.
You know.
So I like where you're going with that mindset. What I'll say is, when it comes to owning things, how do I put this?
I have no collateral, kind of, is what I'm also trying to say, you know?
Yeah. I kind of understand you. At the same time, I guess what I'm suggesting is not that you do 100% of it in that. You get what I mean?
In what?
In putting it in investments, right? I'm doing a portion of it to see if that makes any difference for you.
So maybe so again, not advice, but if you were in my shoes, right? So I'm putting 30% into that emergency fund / savings.
Yeah.
Investing maybe 50% in more safe investments like ETFs or fund. What do you call those?
ETFs are exchange traded funds.
Funds, S&P maybe.
Yeah.
You split that half and half.
Yeah.
And then, what did I say, 50% of that? So what do you got left? I said 30.
You got 20% left.
20%.
Yeah.
10% somewhere and then 10% somewhere risky.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Or you could even do 40%, keep saving, and then the rest. And we haven't even counted in the retirement yet, so don't forget about that part. So income's going to be a little bit lower. Mm-hmm. So let's say maybe 20% of that will go towards the retirement piece, and then another 40% of that will go towards savings, and then the other 40% liquid investments. Mm-hmm. But back to the risk aversion piece and sort of the lack of collateral. The thing that you need to remember also, I guess, it sounded like the fear was a little bit coming from if something happens, where am I going to live, right? I think that's what it sounded like. At the same time, what you got to remember is that even if you own a home, there's still costs that come with that.
That's true.
There's still property tax. There's still the maintenance. There's still a lot of, it's not like you own a home and suddenly, I'm free, I don't have to pay anything.
It's all gone.
If it's an apartment, even more so. You have to pay HOA every month.
What's that one?
There's homeowners, essentially there's a monthly maintenance cost. Most apartments charge for the doorman and all the cleaning, and if there's a pool and amenities, everyone's gotta pay into that. Mm-hmm. And depending on where you live, Miami, HOAs can be $1,200 a month. New York, I'd say it's also probably around $1,000 a month. New Jersey, it's a lot less. It's maybe $300, $400. It's
could that go up though? Could you be living in a place and then it just goes up?
Yeah. They decide, this year we need to do a massive renovation in the lobby, and that's going to cost us. It's going to be a one-time assessment. We're all going to have to pay, I don't know, $1,000. Yeah, that could totally happen.
Scammers.
So you gotta. These are the things that people don't realize, I think, when they think about buying a home. So. I'm not knocking the idea.
No.
I think buying a home is super important. I think everyone at some point hopefully can be able to do that. But these are things to remember and think about.
Wow. Because I always hear people are like, I bought an apartment in the Upper West Side for $50,000 in the 90s. Now I have $5 billion. You always hear that story. You don't hear about people saying, my HOA went up 100%.
Okay, it's never going to go up that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, theoretically, they do raise it, with inflation and one-time assessments and random shit that can happen in the building.
Damn.
With homes, you don't have that, but then you have high property taxes.
Right.
So you have land, and again, depending on where you live, New York, it's high. If you go out in
Mhm.
Montana, you're not paying very much.
Yeah.
So that's
True.
part of it. I would also, like, when I think about buying a home, a lot of times I think about it as, like, I don't need to live in the home. I want to buy property, but as an investment, I can rent it out. It doesn't, meaning that opens up my aperture in terms of where I can actually buy,
Mhm.
right? Because right now I'm like, well, I want to live in New York, so I can only buy a place in New York.
Right.
But at what point in your life, in the next 20 years, are you going to be able to afford $1 million apartment in New York?
Oh.
If your film career,
If it goes off.
if it blows up, then soon.
Hopefully.
But like otherwise, okay, you're saving what, $2,000 a month. You're gonna need how much of a down payment to afford that kind of house? What, 10%? You're gonna need like $100,000.
Mhm.
It's gonna take a long time.
Yeah, to pay that mortgage off and
yeah.
stuff.
So not just to pay the mortgage off, I'm saying to even buy the home, to put the down
yeah.
payment down, it's gonna take you a while to save that up.
Mhm.
So
I see what you're saying.
So if you think about, well, maybe I don't have to buy a place in New York, and that doesn't mean you don't live in it. It means you rent it out, and then you can make money off of it. And by the way, sometimes in a good market, you can even make so much money that you use the profits to pay your rent. Right. So I know people who did that. They bought a place in Philadelphia, and they were generating a profit on that rental property, and they were paying their own rent.
Using
Using the money.
something up.
Exactly.
That's
So they
funny.
were paying zero rent, and the profits were also covering the mortgage. So they were paying absolutely. So all they paid was a down payment on the apartment, and their monthly costs, housing costs, were zero. So you can kind of shift a little bit that thinking, but I do like the idea of saving up for a home. But I do still think that it makes sense for you to put a little bit in investments, even for that particular goal, because you can get there faster. If you're thinking about, well, I need so much money for a down payment, let's say you need 40, 50 grand for a down payment, you're going to get there faster if some of it is, you get some investment gains on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would push you a little bit on the risk aversion. Let's start with the retirement account.
Yeah.
And then we can move on and think about other things. Thanks, guys. This is Money Therapy. I'm your host, Rachel Lauren, and we're signing off.